Welcome back to Reactions, Rants, and Rabbit Holes. I am Rollen Green, and I am as lubricated and prepared for this as I have ever been for anything. Now, to set the context for you. First, I did a Vinny Paz, Koresh Babylon. Well, I started with some Opeth, Window Pane, real chill. Got me mellow. But then, the Vinny Paz really ignited the ranting. And it got real. So, just a heads up, if what you're looking for is, let's say, placing Rant on a pedestal and something, this, that, greatest artist ever, there are channels that do this. Because I am going to reflect upon the Vinny Paz reaction I did, the unknown dangers from Chester P that went almost a half hour. So almost an hour of, let's just say, focusing on some of the darker sides of life. Nothing, a lot of tragedy, no fairy tale bullshit involved. So, thank you for joining me if you're going to stick with it. Ren, Eden, been requested, been sitting in the warehouse. I am here for the content of the messaging. Which I'm sure from what I heard, I think that's what I get. I think it's spoken word, but I'm not sure. I do not want to speak out of turn. But I know Ren's creations, his narratives fit right in with where I was. So I don't expect some weird quantum entanglement. I expect to be able to continue going off on the unfortunate unfortunate truths of a consumer, consumed, oppressed, oppressor. Life's a real bitch worldview.
Let me tell you a story as old as time, the story of Adam and Eve. It starts with a God who wanted more. God had just created the heavens and the earth. He had the angels by his side, but they had no will of their own. And so the autonomy to love or reject him was never theirs. All but for one, the once called bringer of light, Lucifer, morning star. Lucifer was the fairest and most intelligent of all the angels. He was the closest thing to God's image, and in his likeliness, Lucifer felt restless. He began to question and doubt God. He doubted the hierarchy opposed upon him. He felt God was arrogant. In his frustration, Lucifer built a throne that stood even above God's and declared mutiny. A war.
Okay, being it's this subject matter and not a different subject matter, I'm going to keep my pie hole shut. I've addressed this, and I'd like to see where we get instead of going 53 seconds in super hard, rawr, new covenant, blah, blah, blah. Some sort of defending my personal anything. I don't think my personal anything is being attacked. I'm just not too big on, I'm not too big on the Morning Star.
Gods and declared mutiny. A war ensued. God, being all-powerful, came out the victor and banished Lucifer from the heavens and exiled him to earth. Once again, God was alone with his power. Perhaps from loneliness, perhaps from curiosity, perhaps from a desire to share love, God began to work on his greatest project yet, a being that would mirror himself.
Or maybe God was a really advanced programmer and he just beat the first level where you had to beat the demonic hordes to gain dominion over the planet to create a creation cycle and then give a sentient being with free will the ability to create. Woo! I'm just taking a shot in the dark.
The human, two humans specifically, Adam and Eve. They were placed inside a paradise built for them on earth, the Garden of Eden. In the garden, God placed a tree that bared fruit that would grant anyone who ate it powers bestowed only to a God to tell good from evil, left from right, to live righteously or to sin. He named this the tree of knowledge. God told Adam and Eve they could eat whatever they wanted in the garden, but never the fruit from the tree of knowledge. And if they disobeyed him, it would be punishable by death. The basic way the story of Eden is told is that Eve was tempted by Lucifer in the form of a serpent to eat a fruit from the tree of knowledge. Convinced, she bit the fruit, she passed it to Adam, and he did the same. Suddenly, ultimate knowledge filled their minds, and they realized they were naked and felt shame. God discovered this betrayal and felt angry. He exiled Adam and Eve and cursed them with the life of a mortal. They would work, they would bear children, and they would...
Oh, I think I get something in this story finally. They only felt shame because they were created correctly. So think about it this. Now I'd like you to compare this moment to the actual timeline. And if they embraced ultimate knowledge, realized their nakedness meant they could have a transitional gender fluid orgy fuck parties, then they would have actually been the kind of creature that Lucifer would have wanted to tempt. I'm just saying from this story, I think it's a... in my core belief system, because I played both sides of the road, I truly believe these are stories to teach us that temptation and psychopathy, or making the wrong moral decisions, will lead to a place you might not be able to recover from. Now, that's just a personal opinion. I actually think it's cool, but I having been down this path quite a few times, I realized the way it was put here in this, PlayStation, shit, early gaming graphics. What's that? 8-bit? No, 12? I don't know what the fuck it was. But the whole shame part. Yeah, because see, you wouldn't, of course, because you weren't created to engage in the, let's say I just got done railing about being a criminal. The last song, everybody ended up dying in their own pool of their bloods and brains in just the most horrific tragedy. And then I think the weird moral of the story is, without the crappy temptations, maybe things would be a lot better. But we keep taking the temptation.
Cursed them with the life of a mortal. They would work, they would bear children, and they would die. The fate of a human. Now look deeper.
In the story, the serpent tempted me by telling me I would gain ultimate knowledge and that God would spare me.
Both were true.
This wasn't some great deception, meaning that Satan, in the likeliness of God, perhaps understood his intentions. In fact,
the only lie uttered in the
Garden of Eden was
by God, who did not end up
condemning
Adam and Eve to
death.
This could be seen as an act of
mercy, but the sheer fact that the tree existed and that humans
were initially cut off from this knowledge
may imply some part of God was afraid.
Wait. Though I don't care how good, this is awesome. And I definitely agree that it should exist, and these opinions are valid. But right now, we could all demand the knowledge that the pedo elite child sacrificers who we know exist, we know they're for our asking, and we choose not to, because even to this day, to this moment, some knowledge is so forbidden and so scary that normie stardust will not tread there. But they will condemn all hope everywhere else. I'm just saying, we don't want to know the deep, dark truths. What, you think the tinfoil hatters are just crazy? We're like fucking 95-0 right now, you know? Have you thanked your local crazy person for knowing what was going on when everyone else believed what the fucking TV was telling them? I wonder who that because that's the thing. The perception that people do good as they actually invoke and do evil. And, this part of the story is technically irrelevant to the life we live because a new covenant was created, and I don't got to do this. I don't got to sacrifice my, fatted fucking lamb anymore, just so you know. This also started the, blood sacrifice period, and how many people are still worshiping Baal.
That if humans were granted the gift of perception, they, like Lucifer, would have the power to reject him too. The fact that there stood a beautiful tree that could
grant this knowledge in the first place
implies that a small part of
God, supposedly all-knowing,
perhaps wanted and intended
the humans to
bite too.
In the Bible, Satan was an exiled angel of free will. Humans are exiled
descendants of Adam and Eve,
also with free will. Not only have we shared a similar fate to the devil, we were also both constructed in the image of our Creator.
Constructed in the image of our Creator.
Meaning our behaviors, in some shape or form, imperfectly echo his.
We could assume that this kind of
God has his doubts, but as the most
powerful
being in the universe,
he has no one above him
to turn to with questions, and no one to
doubt but himself, an incredibly lonely and isolating existence.
We must only assume.
Yeah, he just walks a he, she, it, conglomerate of all ideas that we cannot comprehend or conceive. Take away any of the human stuff. We have obviously projected that onto our simulation creator. What, they can't walk away from the council? Come on. At the very least, throw the multiverse and the possibilities, the quantum reality that hope does not have to be destroyed to understand there are more mysteries under the planet than we will ever understand. It's certainly not some simple equation. The complexity of your human machine alone proves there's complexity to the universe, not just random chaos. No, I'm getting lost because this is on the super not triggering. I think it's awesome. I don't agree. I think focusing on this part is like going to your fucking therapist and then not actually working with them to an end. Focusing on the judge who sentenced you to therapy. So then you get there and all you do is you fuck the judge, man. Fuck that. I don't want to learn a fucking thing. I definitely don't want to learn how to give up temptation and do something better and more self-fulfilling. I would just want to do whatever feels good all the time because fuck it, I'm stardust. Well, how do you... I'm just saying there's a departure from that thinking to, astral project. I come from another artist who, has opened up the third eye and is astral projecting free, and multiple artists reference this all a lot. So I'm not saying I do or don't. But being confined to, the control system when the freeing power is there under every rock and every piece of wood and every sip of water and every breath of air in every ounce of flesh, then, you're constrained by the control system, the to bind nature of a religion. A religion. I can't, there's a debate on that, but pretty sure it's the binding elements of all this that are being discussed here, not the freeing side of any of it.
That the common thread between God, Lucifer, and us is the desire for more, an eternal curiosity, a desire perhaps birthed from a seed of loneliness. If not, why would we exist in the first place?
To create.
The constantly looping bittersweet irony is whether gifted by some omnipotent God or simply a byproduct of billions of years of evolution, here we stand in 2023 as creatures with free will, the only creatures that understand and define good from bad, creatures with the potential
Gosh, I like pet videos. And outside of the obvious staged bullshit that exists in this world, I would use Elephant Sorrow Graveyard's Memory as the starting point for this discussion, because boy, oh boy, the gender fluidity crew will use the instances of asexual reproduction and same-sex animal partnering to solidify the humans are not the only ones. So we will dangerously pick and choose what the fuck we want to use right now. But I would say that the elephant at the very first blows kind of a no of disrespect. All opinions are for entertainment purposes only. This piece of art is created so someone can share their opinion, and it is valid. I just don't agree. I would still, I don't know, right? I don't know if he's a smoker. I don't really know. He probably gave that up when his career blew up. I have no clue. Fucking T, I don't give a fuck what it is. I'd still spend time and treat Ren with the utmost respect, because I think he's awesome. At the same time, I just don't agree with focusing on the control at all. The free will part says, fuck that. You have the righteous no, and then you should have the intestinal fortitude to accept the consequences. But we all wield righteous no's. We could just say no more. I will not conform. I will not comply. We don't. We let those who embrace Luciferian understanding, psychopathy, and the consumption of the human soul to gain 99.9% of all positions of power and control. Fuck that. We get everything we deserve.
And define good from bad.
But animals,
creatures with the potential
whales,
of a god.
Fuck that. I seen blackfish, and even if it was meant to pull my heartstrings, the mourning the stealing of the calf, I don't care how they put the rest of the film. The goddamn whale did that shit, right? If they can mourn, this is, I don't think the animals have Disney-esque qualities that make them Mary Poppins fresh for me to fucking talk to. Do I know that I relate to some and can observe and watch behaviors that if evolved would if my cat evolved into something, he'd have intelligence, care, love, and he'd still like knocking shit off counters, because there'd still be some cat in there. I don't think we are definitely removed from the animals. I'm not even people eating tasty animals, because I love them, and then I can put them down, I can love them, I can cook them. It's a difference between psychotic behavior and using the most of your resources and valuing all life as sacred, but knowing consumption is the essence of the machine. Holy shit, this is fuck.
To understand and define good from bad. Creatures with the potential of a god. And what do we do with that free will, my friend? We willingly walk to the edge of a cliff. In the name of progress, we jump off the precipice.
No.
The empires we build ravage the earth. The natural order of things are necessary to survive. Any systems which do not honor homeostasis eventually perish. Our free will overrides our own biological instinct. We can take more than we eat. We can kill more than we need. We can willingly create weapons with the potential.
Yeah, all this is true. And I 100% agree. Except there's so many different paths. And as long as the Luciferian psychopaths can make money off this and no one says no, Why? Because they tribe up and pick up a weapon and go after their neighbors because they're petty and jealous because the machine told them to consume and eat and eat and eat. But guess what? If it was down to 15 or 20 of us on the planet, you probably are not going to be able to set up your survival zone fast enough. You'll have to eat some animals. It turns out we can consume and live on that. Now you can choose that, use it all correctly, and live in balance with it. But once again, I mean, does anybody with the utopian worldview understand how they would keep the balance they wish to create? How do they keep these people out of power? How do you keep the covetous nature out of your heart so you stop wanting what someone else has? Because that's what you empower your leaders to do. Take things that you want when you don't want to work for it yourself, when I'd have to go dig in the ground, hunt the fucking deer. Dude, this time of year it'd be a bitch, but I'd still have to dig a big pit to get below the frost line to keep food. But I'd have a fucking refrigerator. I don't need to plug nothing into a wall. I would still create waste. Maybe I'd have to learn to use that waste somehow properly, except for the hole I shit in, which maybe I'm smart enough to put a long ways from where I live. Because the first problem we have is we like living right on top of our toilets. And I wonder what ray of morning star knowledge let us think that was okay.
Free will overrides our own.
Hey, the Black Plague taught us a little something there, didn't it? Don't shit where you eat.
Biological instinct. We can take more than we eat. We can kill more than we need. We can willingly create weapons with the potential to burn everything we've built to the ground. We willingly decide to bow at the altar of greed, the most insidious and destructive of all sins. We put our faith in corporations who pose as rulers. We willingly...
Not yet. I wouldn't buy a view. I wouldn't run a contest. I wouldn't entice a soul. Win, lose, or draw is all good. But not everyone does these things. Now, of course, the messaging is designed for those lost in the fucking consuming machine, adrift in the matrix, who need to be shaken. I get that. So, all respect. I like it. But I don't need to be shaken. I've been listening to the fucking ducks trying to tell these people since I learned of private train lines that lead to prisons that you can't take pictures of. That's like the 80s or something. I mean, I've been crazy most of my life, man. Well, hey, lots of people been against all of this for a long time.
We allow ourselves to be led by outdated power systems, ran by corrupted politicians and bloated dictators who claim domain and dominion over an open and free land. We willingly elect the corrupted when the decision was always ours to build something better. We willingly create and impose separation because of beliefs that we are force-fed through our phones and television sets. We always had the will to reject these things, but we adhere to them as though they were the laws of physics. War, famine, pestilence, greed, these aren't things imposed upon us by an all-powerful God or by his demonic adversary. They are here because of us, not because of free will, but because of our inability to...
And then I don't have any of this guilt. Because we could have chose different systems, as it says, and we didn't. So I live in the group, I believe, like Ren, who's been pointing it out long enough and is pissed off about it. This is his attempt at doing something about it. Me is taking my role. And instead of saying it's some kumbaya, pass the plate, fill the coffer, and put the pastor into a G6, it's fuck all that shit, take down the elite consume and greed machine, and then accept the fact that if you're not willing to work, you're probably going to get shit. Because left to our own devices, we will burn it down to nothing, and then you'll find out that you got to build it back up with this. There's no naked foraging for fucking berries in harmony with the planet. You'd all be living along a single little band around the fucking equator, killing each other for the berry bushes.
Use it. We must be motivated to be better, not out of fear of punishment of an eternal damnation, but because the choice exists.
What fear's that?
Because we love ourselves. Because we have the power to absolve ourselves of so much unnecessary suffering. Take a second
but we
to
love
be in
money. They love money, money, money. They love money. Lucifer, evil, or whatever you think, old school, Old Testament big G. Money, sacrifice, money, power. Sacrifice, money, power. What about the freeing yourself, as he's pointed out in some ways, freeing yourself from the sacrificial system and knowing that morally sound judgments, treatment of others, and decision-making processes you can probably build within your means and actually have some sustainability. But then those systems were tried. We did, hey, that hunter-gatherer period, what, was that the longest run of success we had? All you have to do is explain where there was the who got the free ride during the hunter-gatherer period. Because I don't think you get both. You don't get the city-state system if you're not willing to be the worker that sustained the hunter-gatherer stage. And I think we can do this over and not all opinions for entertainment purposes only, but I think we can keep doing it as many times as we want. We ain't never going to change as long as we can think we get everything we want. Now, I think that's in here too. So, hey, oh shit, we could share a cocktail together or a tea or a smoke or whatever and definitely have enough to agree upon that we could agree to disagree on the rest. It's how you go about giving the messages, but I'd say the end is the same. We could do a lot better.
in this very moment. In this moment, how much suffering is happening all over the planet right now? How many people are dying of illnesses that could have easily been cured, but aren't because of the selfishness and greediness of humanity? How many people break their backs and reject their own passions to simply fall?
They showed the miners that build everybody's green future. So if your future's tied to, the green future, then you're tied
dying
to
of illnesses that could have easily been cured, but aren't because of the selfishness and greediness of humanity. How many people?
Now, I'm included, because artisan farming is used in tobacco processing, so I am a hypocrite. I smoke, so I unfortunately, I partake in a system that exploits youth. It's bullshit. I don't want the corporations to do that. Now, I can't even say what I want to do to them because that's somehow a crime. Letting them get away with it, fuck, that's not a crime at all. But wanting to change it and thinking that, some lead poisoning or something would get that done, that's somehow wrong. There's my Luciferian side. Because don't know, I'm sure it would condemn any moral center I had, but would it be, justifiable to the universe? Sure. Because the positions of power now have the power balance skewed. Evil wins. And you could take away all the gods. There are people who will fuck for fun and throw their babies in dumpsters. There are people who will eat till they explode and die. Doesn't matter what someone says. There are addicts who will willingly hit that rock for the last time that kills them, inject that garbage that's going to do them in. None of those people believe in any G's, big or small. We have a long ways to go, but the green future's built on this. So I myself was tobacco. I reject the entire green future because the narrative doesn't look good for that. It looks like it's going to get a shit ton of blowback too, because it turns out you never are willing to interview your thought leaders that turn on you. And the climate change and global catastrophe movement keeps losing thought leaders all the time because they see it for the money grab scam it is. Doing better and being better human beings, not a money grab scam. Ren, not a money grab scam. I'm not saying that. But all of the activists profiting on this, if we're just going to slowly transition to a new system, what you're really saying is, I willingly just want to see another debt transfer, wealth transfer. And now when they touch it, it'll be good. They'll put their hands on it and they'll fix it this time. And then I just ask, what's the track record on that? Do we have a good record of that happening? I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying, do we have a good track record? Because we do have a good track record of exploiting artisan farming.
People break their backs and reject their own passions to simply afford bills and food. How many of us crave distraction from existence? How many of us numb that pain in whatever way necessary? How many children are being abused? How many people sleep cold and hungry on
and like I said about the hunter-gatherer stage, now if you had to defend the village, fend for the village, or create so the village can consume, would you have time for that lifestyle choices? How much excess creates the ability to willingly choose a life of drug addiction and street life? Because we've done, them studies have been done. You know, actual homelessness is a rarity. Dropping out of society but still wanting to have a couple ends met, entering a tribal hunter-gatherer stage within a urban setting, looks like it exists way more common than the narrative and propaganda fed to us. Am I saying a blanket statement? No, of course not. There's families that live in their car and are suffering. There's other shit. They don't look like junkies hoveling in hell pits. Okay? They look like working class. They look like a family working out of their car till they can get back to the next stage. There's a huge difference.
Streets. How many of us become cogs inside a machine that is destroying itself? How many soldiers have been forced to fight in meaningless wars? How many humans have killed for ideals they don't believe in or understand? How many people
Actually,
have died?
A lot less than you think. That's why they want kill bots. Because it turns out a lot of soldiers, until they got the technology down, they would, purposely shoot over others. They don't really want to murder. They get there and they point their gun at another human being, which this will take us all the way back to the first one today. Not Opeth, but the Vinnie Paz. They're nationalistic enough to march for their beliefs, but they're not really strong enough because they're not psychotic. They won't kill for their beliefs. So a lot less than people think. Just like crime. The propaganda tells us about crime sprees. Upon closer examination, we find a handful of people are the actual perpetrators, and then they're in a revolving door system, so they're allowed to keep doing it. It creates a control narrative of fear, allows a couple people to get away with it, and they can snuff out each one anytime they want because they're always on the radar. Fucking weird how that works.
For the greed of another man. And how much of this was avoidable? As written in the Bible, Satan was not condemned to hell. Satan was condemned to earth. He lives there amongst other creatures with free will, who always had the choice and still chose their own undoing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our self-made hell. The bittersweet irony is this is a creation of our own design.
Either way.
I'll leave you with this. Consider what you have done here today. You have worked together as individuals collaborating to form a giant neural network, a hive mind capable of achieving incredible things. We have lent on each other's strengths to solve puzzles and decipher riddles, and we've done so to win money. Imagine applying that same spirit and determination to creating the closest thing we have to paradise here on...
Yeah, because you have to be incredibly safe and within a certain tolerances to try to free people and keep making money. Or you can get erased by the algorithm, left by the crowd, because it turns out part of actually making the money is desiring and willing it into your life. Because it turns out nothing's free and everything comes from somewhere. At some point, someone dug in the ground, worked with their hands, or traded something back and forth. But it just didn't poof into existence. And if all our peers would join together and first go, well, you don't actually apply any value. And I'm not a Marvel depopulationist. I know the pedo depopulationists are evil. I actually side on the fact that technology shows that they find a way to keep pace with the growth. So you have to ask yourself, why does it have to keep pace so disgusting and horrible and filthy and counterproductive to us? Because the top needs to profit the most. How many average people profit from the medicine they take? In the history of the planet, don't you think we would have just wiped out illnesses? No, the tippity top don't care if you die as long as you feed the coffers. We keep letting psychopaths, doesn't have to be spiritual. Evil can just be psychopathy and greed. And I agree with Ren 100%. But there's also a freeing side to some of these narratives that I won't just play with like there's something to throw away.
On Earth. By using the power of collaboration, we can work together to even the playing field for everybody. Our dystopias can become utopias. Our jahannams can become Jannah. Our hells can become heaven, right here on Earth. And this sentiment applies to atheists, agnostics, and believers alike. Myself, I'm an agnostic who believes. I believe in us. We must do better.
Hey, thank God I'm an atheist. Thank God I'm an atheist. It says that on the back of one of my shirts. I wore it with pride for years, the pimp shirt. Do I have any idea what's going on in the universe? No. I do know, after worshiping the Dark Lord himself and embracing a left-hand path to, embracing my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, right? From those two extremes, I know my life is better when I believe in something, as long as my narrative, which I take from Alexandrian and Gardnerian pagan teachings, and you do no harm, do what you will. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. My heart is a pagan naturalist, I want to go on the spirit guide trip with ASAP and visit the spirit world and do my ayahuasca or whatever and talk to the little fairies and stuff in there. My heart of hearts, do no harm and you're good. In this last 38 minutes, I saw a lot of reflections on the harm the planet does. And there's a video on my channel, 1111. And it has a lot of things to say fuck to. But then it also has is equally amount of space and time given to the things that are joyful. And this whole song could be, the coin could be flipped over, and with his talent, and I don't think Ren should do this at all, but you could paint a much different picture of the hope that drove the planet, because something missing is the hope and will to do better, is exploited by those who usurp and take for the means to the end of getting to the top of the pyramid. Maybe we don't need to knock pyramids down, but we need to allow the top floor to be open space, use as you will, everybody welcome. Every super yacht they get to build should have to pack as many normies that their same policies create. And if that group cannot line up into the super yacht and get a free ride, then what the fuck do you get a super yacht for? Ren, Eden, this was something else.
Because we can choose to. We must be better simply because the option exists. Thank you.
And I hope you made it 40 minutes. And I hope you understand that I have nothing but respect. I think I stand by everything I said. I think we actually see 70-30. Probably 80-20. The two agnostics would be able to sit down and understand the mysteries of life and then depart and talk about the intangibles of the mysteries of life. We don't have to name names, but I bet we could name intangible feelings that a believer doesn't have. Just keep this in mind as a final thought. Supposedly there are people with no internal monologue, no voice in their head, no hole in their heart longing to be filled with something, whether it be chaos and evil or divine righteousness and positivity, negativity. Okay? If that's the case, we have to worry. The system we create is stealing something from us that is sacred. I'm not talking big G, little g. I'm talking about every 40-year-old atheist who knows there's an internal monologue as they roll their eyes and say, my God, they're preaching to me again. I just wanted a hoagie. Okay? Just food for thought. We don't need to create Eden, and then we don't need to embrace every temptation. We need to learn how to find the best enough and let that shine. But we like channeling the worst. Later.